points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
I'm not a math whiz, but if you only play 4 minutes and the hockey game is 60 minutes long, carry the 1, that's 56 minutes that you've elected not to play in the hockey game. It's not a recipe for success, as the Winnipeg Jets found out this evening. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. With Dave Manouk, with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to talk about a score that flatters the Winnipeg Jets, a score that does not accurately reflect the game that you saw tonight, a score that for the average fan who may not have watched and looks at it and says, hey, that's a close game. Well, they would be mistaken. A score that is not symbolic of just how poor the Winnipeg Jets effort was tonight. Sabres 3, Jets 2, and the game was nowhere near that close. Gentlemen, good to see you both on this Thursday evening. The Jets home from the road trip. They played 8 of 9 on the road. They come home today to face a Buffalo Sabres team that has been rolling as of late. We talked about that on Tuesday's post-game show, and the Jets were not up to the task. The Jets were not equal to their opponent. The Jets were not in this game whatsoever. The Jets were booed on home ice, deservingly so. 3-2 is the final. But this was way more one-sided than that, Mr. Ginsburg.
Yeah, absolutely. What's up, boys? Hold on a second. I just got something here I want to get right off the bat. Hold on. Little fireball.
There you go, attaboy. Let's pound that.
We're going to do the Seagram shot of the game right now, boys.
Yeah, well, we have to watch the game, so I think you deserve a drink there in that case.
Hold on one sec.
Yeah. Dave, you're muted. We can't hear what you're saying.
Cheers. L'chaim, that was great. Yeah, this was a stinker. Oh, I love that fireball. It's just so delicious.
And again.
I wasn't going to let you outdo me, Drew, with the fireball shot, so I needed a shot after that game. Wow, the Sabres were dominant. This Sabres team is good, guys, like really good. Like, how good did Owen Power and Rasmus Dahlin, both first overall picks, look on the back end? Like, hold on a second. I just have to let that fireball kick in there, boys. Yeah, I mean, you're right, Drew. I mean, the first 2 periods were brutal. And the thing is, the first period was not good, largely controlled by the Sabres.
Yeah.
The Jets came out of that second period, and the first 5 or 6 minutes wasn't bad. And then the Sabres absolutely took over. Like, it actually, I was thinking, I'm sure I wasn't the only one. It was like Harlem Globetrotters on ice. Yeah. Like the way the Sabres were gaining the Jet zone, and basically, like, the thing that stood out to me is just it was way too easy for the Sabres to generate speed through the neutral zone and just basically do whatever they wanted upon entry into the Jet zone, right? Like, how many times did we see the Sabres, control the play in the Jet zone for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute? And obviously, Tage Thompson, Jeff Skinner, these guys are incredible. Alex Tuck is the other guy on that top line. Like, this is one of the best lines in hockey right now. But, forget that for a second. Like, where was the Jets' pushback in this game? As you mentioned, Drew, it didn't happen until late in the third period when the goalie was pulled, right? So it's a really disappointing game for the Jets in terms of you had a disappointing road trip. And what did we talk about was the most disappointing was the fact that you only scored 1 goal against the Leafs, only 1 goal against the Senators. You only scored 1 goal in your last game against Nashville, right?
Yeah, 1 goal against the Canadians is what you meant, but I know what you're saying.
Pardon me. Sorry, you're right. Sorry, I meant to say Canadians, Drew. Thank you for correcting me. I've had a couple fireball shots in the air. So, yeah, like, this was just all types of ugly tonight, Dave, for the Jets. This just was not acceptable. I thought aside from the Lowry, Barron, Kuhlman line, most lines just didn't seem connected. They didn't have a lot going on. I thought Nick Ehlers was by far the Jets' best forward. He had multiple scoring chances, didn't get everything on that 3-on-1, but yeah, there's no other word to put it, but just disappointing.
I will say that, if you're looking at this Jets club and you're thinking to yourself, first of all, way too much passing. Way too much. Now, first of all, let's be realistic. What's the narrative going to be? The narrative is going to be, well, after a long road trip, you come back, the first game back, it's always hard. So that's going to be the narrative that's going to be sold, I imagine, because it was already asked in the media availability this morning. How do you, that they always say this, blah, blah, blah. So that's going to be one thing. Number two, the Jets may want to get their eyes checked because they missed the net so much. It's not for believing how many times they missed the net. It really is. So they missed the net. They overpass. Like today was ridiculous. It was actually criminal how many opportunities they had. 3-on-1s. They're giving up shots. Like take a shot. Let the guy be a guy for a rebound.
Did you say take a shot?
I did.
You have to drive home.
Yeah, let's. I gave it.
Okay,
very small.
I'll wait till the commercial break.
Yeah, I was gonna say these are the very small. Just in case anybody's worried, these are very small shot glasses as he's using.
They're not full
cups.
shots. Yeah, they're teeny tiny ones.
Yeah, they're little guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but unlike Ezzy, who takes a shot and doesn't miss his net, these guys.
That's what I was going for. The shots, right? The Sabres had a lot. The Jets didn't have enough. That was my symbolism there.
Guys, the Jets didn't take a shot for 16 on net for 16 minutes between the 5-minute mark or something about thereabouts to sometime in the third. Yeah. It wasn't good. It wasn't a good effort. And I said this at one point in the game. The Jets I said, I'm not sure if it's the Sabres looking like they're skating with nitro or if the Jets look like they're skating in quicksand. Either way, the disparity doesn't look good for the home team. And it didn't look good. And Connor Hellebuck was excellent, and he had to be. And the rest of the Jets didn't look good. They really didn't. I'm sorry. You can say, okay, Nikolai Ehlers had some chances. And the crazy part is, if the 3-on-1 works in the Jets' favor and they score on that one early with Lowry, Kuhlman, and Ehlers, I think that could have changed the nature of the game. If the Scheifele is able to put Ehlers 2-on-1 home, changes the nature of the game. But that's, again, speaking of nature of the game, that's what happens when you miss your opportunities. And the Sabres didn't. And the Sabres capitalized. And the Sabres were the better of the two teams. And you're right, Ezzy. That score flattered Winnipeg. And you're right, Drew, also. If you looked at that, you'd be like, if you read the box score, if you didn't watch the game, if you didn't listen to this post-game show, 3-2. Probably a relatively even game. That wasn't a relatively even game.
No, I feel like the Sabres boys the Jets had no response for the Sabres speed. And they had no response for the Sabres defenseman jumping up into the play, holding onto the puck, creating offense. Like there just wasn't enough of they just didn't have the puck enough, quite simply, right? Like it was just, there were parts of this game, like you mentioned it, the Jets went 14 or 15 minutes without a shot on net at home. Like that's just not going to cut it.
To me, the word, if you wanted to describe the Jets game tonight, the word that came to my mind as I was watching it was arrogant. The Jets had a lot of arrogance in their game. When you're playing against an opponent, you don't get marks, you don't get bonus points for the goal being pretty. It still just counts as one goal if it goes behind the goalie and it goes into the net. So to your point, Dave, about the overpassing, somebody on the Jets roster, one of their players, needs to take the bull by the horns and say, and not just say it, but demonstrate it. We need to shoot. We know this goalie. We know Eric Comrie. We know his strengths. We know his weaknesses. Eric Comrie is a friend of this program, but we all know what he is as a goalie. It's great to see him succeed, but there's often rebounds available off of Eric Comrie. That's just the reality of what we've seen over the years. We know that. It's not necessarily...
And how many second chances did we see tonight, Drew? Like none. Do you know how many high danger chances the Jets had at 5-on-5 in the third period?
I think it was in the third period, they had at 5-on-5, they had none, Ezzy.
Yeah, it's what Ezzy's showing you.
Yeah, they had none. I mean, look, goes to my point. Look, you know what Eric Comrie is. You need to start getting pucks on net and crashing bodies in front. That when things aren't going well artistically, and they often don't go well artistically because hockey doesn't frequently lead itself to artistic goals. The vast majority of goals are hacking and whacking and bodies in front and the cliche that goes with that. But when you're arrogant about your game and you're arrogant about your opponent, and you think that the only way to score or that your goals have to be have to be of a pretty variety, then you don't get the opportunities. Put a puck on net. Get a guy in front.
Well, to your point, Drew, when the Jets were having their most success this year, what were the goals that we were seeing on a nightly basis? It was point shots being tipped.
Yes.
Right? Pionk, Morrissey, and then you had whether it was Pierre-Luc Dubois or Blake Wheeler or Mark Scheifele, whoever, tipping pucks in the slot. You're right. And the Jets are the Jets are definitely a skilled team, and they are fun to watch. Like, everybody loves to watch guys like Nick Ehlers and Kyle Connor skate, right? But you're right. This game was the type of game in which you needed to grind it out. Like, it was scoreless for a big chunk of this game. Right. And, the Jets just weren't not only were they not generating enough offense, they weren't even coming close to getting scoring chances, right?
Especially because you watch that game and you can see that they're fighting the puck. You can see that it's not crisp. And so when it's not crisp, then you need to simplify things. And simplifying things is shooting and bodies in front, because that's the simplest distillation of this game. It's just throw a puck towards the opposing goalie, get it through as best you can so it's not blocked up by the blue line, and hope that you can get a rebound or that it bounces off of 3 legs and 2 sticks and a shin pad and somehow beats the goalie. That's the simplest way when you're not feeling it, when the beautiful part of the game isn't working for you. But too often over the last couple of weeks, I would say, the Jets have been trying to be too beautiful and too pretty. And Ezzy, as somebody who knows what it's like being too beautiful and too pretty, you see it happening, and you say to them,
didn't you mean to say Dave there, by the way, Drew?
No, I meant you. I mean, you with your slick back hair and the beard looks nicely trimmed. You're looking handsome, is what I was saying. Is what I was going for there.
So, Drew, can you actually text what you just said to Naomi now? Because I'm a little bit in the doghouse right now, so I don't need to hear that. But I think Naomi needs to be reminded of that.
I just assumed you were in the doghouse always, so I was trying to boost you up. I was trying to give you,
literally, I've been sleeping in the doghouse, and we don't even have a dog.
Yeah, I know. It's weird that you bought a doghouse without you guys having a dog. But it's just it's been too many games recently where you see this kind of arrogance is how I described it. They need to go back to simplifying the game, because that is where they've been at their most successful. And yes, they've had difficulty against teams that come at them with speed, because the Buffalo Sabres are a team that comes at you with speed, and the Jets had no answer for it. But then you just got to figure out a way to simplify it, because matching them speed for speed was not going to work tonight. 1, because Buffalo was the faster of the 2 teams, and 2, they were just playing better than the Jets were. So when you're not playing well, simplify things. Don't make it more complicated, which is what the Jets were trying to do, Dave, on a number of their odd man rushes, where the Jets, how many times did they take a 2-on-1 or a partial 2-on-1 and turn it into a curl back play that went for absolute naught? I mean, it just was infuriating to watch.
And I'm probably going to mention the one you're talking about, is because that's the one that fans reacted to and were booing inside the building, was the Scheifele one where he turned and looked and made a pass. Cole Perfetti did it as well. Yep. I mean, it was too often that guys were taking what could be opportunities and instead turning them into absolutely nothing. And worse, not only were they not turning them into opportunities, boys, but they were turning them into rushes the other way for Buffalo, because Buffalo is capitalizing on the Jets not having their legs. So if you know that you don't have your legs, again, what is your objective? Fire it on net, get it on net, hope you can get a rebound, score a gross, greasy goal, and ultimately, maybe get back into this game. But the Jets didn't, and they kept looking for those perfect, highlight reel goals. And I'm like, folks, you're on the Jets. Nobody from TSN cares about you anyways. So you don't have to worry about being on the highlight reels. They're going to show the Leafs. I think one of the Leafs farted recently, so they're very excited to show that over and over and over.
Marner's goal yesterday was one of the nicest goals I think I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, I think we all know that they get all the coverage. And Dave and Drew, talking about simplifying the game and everything like that doesn't mean, we're not saying that the Jets need to dummy their game down. They need to get back to the fundamentals. Right. We're not saying that, the Jets need to, not display skill. That's not at all what we're saying. But we're saying, when you're in a game in which you're getting badly outplayed and you're just not possessing the puck enough, you have to get back to, just generating offense essentially any way you can, right, Drew? And that's what you're saying. Put it on net, try to get a rebound, crash the net, do something. Like Eric Comrie had the easiest 2 periods, and this is all due respect because it looked like Comrie was going to have a shutout up until 4 or 5 minutes left. So good for him. And you're right, we've had him on the show, and anybody who has followed the Jets / Moose organizations over the years knows that there's nobody better in terms of a person than Eric Comrie. So good for him, right? Because he's had some injuries this year, right? Or one injury. Yeah. So good for him to come back into Winnipeg and get that win. I think, most Jets fans, earlier this morning were hoping Comrie was going to get the start over UPL, right? Who's obviously their number one goaltender. And then Craig Anderson's also in the mix. They've got the rare, 3-headed monster going, but there just wasn't enough sustained pressure. And I thought that the Jets were way too loose. I mentioned it, right? Like it's Captain Obvious here, but the Sabres were just able to enter the zone too easily. And, the Jets were just giving too much time and space. And, the Sabres were cycling the puck and making it look easy out there. And we have to give take the game breakdown aside here. We'll get into the goals, Dave, but we just covered the Jets Sabres a couple of weeks ago. The Jets won that game, but the Sabres looked really good. They deserve a lot of respect. Like they're 1 or 2 points out of that wild card spot now.
They had 3 games in hand, so they're 1 point back of Washington. Although I don't know Washington, Washington might have been playing. Yeah, the Washington played Pittsburgh tonight, and I think it went to overtime. So I'm not sure.
Dave, right? Like they're at most 3 points back, so they're right in the thick of the playoff race, right? And you've got the Islanders in there, and you've got Pittsburgh in there. But I think a lot of people are hoping that they make the playoffs for the first time since 2011. So we can't take anything. Like even though the Jets played really bad, and I think
Buffalo came in having won 4 straight.
Yeah, they'd won 4 straight, and they're tied with Boston, or they were tied with Boston for the best goals for per game, right?
Yeah.
So look at this team is not to be taken lightly by anybody, right? Like we talked about it, Tage Thompson, Jeff Skinner, Alex Tuck. That's an amazing line. But you've got a lot of good players, and you look, and they're
you didn't even mention Victor Olofsson. He's got 20.
Victor Olofsson, right? Like Tyson Jost, I thought was good. Casey Middlestat, JJ Peterka is a guy that Marty Biron has talked about for the last 2 or 3 years when he was playing with Rochester. Peterka, I made sure to write it down here right after Owen Power made it 1-0. Peterka, if you guys remember, had that nice cross pass to Jack Quinn, and Connor Hellebuck made the nice glove or pad save. So look at this team is deep. And, regardless if they get in or not, this team is heading in the right direction. I think it would be so much fun to see like Buffalo versus Boston, for example, in the first round. They might get swept, but I think it would just be the Sabres fan base deserves a playoff spot. Let's just put it that way.
And just to quickly update, Drew, just quickly, Washington won today, so they didn't gain any ground on the Capitals, but again, they have 3 games in hand.
Yeah, look,
and 5 straight wins.
The Buffalo's playing good hockey. And so the Jets knew that, because remember, it wasn't that long ago. It was only a week ago, 10 days ago, that the Jets went into Buffalo. I guess it would have been, it wasn't last Thursday. Or was it
Tuesday.
Last Thursday? I guess it was. When did they play?
No, because they played Friday. They played Friday, Saturday. They played Buffalo on the Tuesday. Oh, Wednesday. It was Wednesday night.
I thought they played Buffalo on the Thursday, then they went to Pittsburgh on the Friday.
They did.
Yeah.
Drew's right.
Yeah,
Thursday, it was Thursday, Friday?
Yeah, it was Thursday, Friday.
They beat Buffalo, and then they beat Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, thank you. And then they came home for that one game against
Arizona.
Arizona. So it would have been 2 weeks ago today.
Yeah.
Time flies. But I mean, so the Jets know that Buffalo's a good hockey team. They shouldn't have come as a surprise. It's just that, the Jets were, it's like they had blinders on in the course of tonight's game as to how they think that they needed to play. And it was the complete opposite way of how they should have been approaching this game, especially when it became obvious that there was no artistic value to their game tonight. This was going to be a grinder, and they just didn't do what was necessary to grind it out. And yeah, they come back late in the game to try and squeak out a point. But that was completely undeserving, and it just flattered the Jets more than anything. It's just a really disappointing effort in what has been a last couple of weeks where, by and large, the efforts for the Winnipeg Jets haven't been great.
The Jets have lost 4 of their last 6, Drew.
The
Jets are in no danger of falling out of a playoff spot, but they're not playing well.
Colorado's going to be right behind them.
Right, and they've got Philly coming up Saturday, and Philly's obviously not a powerhouse, but we just had a comment up there. Chicago's beating Calgary. I can only imagine what Daryl Sutter is going to be like after the game. Hopefully he doesn't go after Jacob Pelletier. But regardless of where the Jets are in the standings, they're still comfortably in second in the Central Division, right, boys? But I mean, you can't like the way that they've played, whether you're a player, whether you're the coach, whether you're a fan right now. This team right now is struggling to score goals, and they just don't look like the same team that they did, 3 or 4 weeks ago.
I think
so. You've got to figure this out. Like I realize that, it's been tough. It's been a grind, 8 games out of 9 on the road, everything like that. And you just want, as Drew mentioned on Tuesday night, like you just want to get into this 11 or 12 day break healthy, but you got to also win some games. You don't want to, go into the break having lost 4 games in a row or anything like that. So, I mean, I expect a better effort on Saturday, but also I expected a much better effort, tonight, Thursday night. They haven't been at home in a while, coming off of your longest road trip, Dave. So yeah, tonight was just, again, it was all types of ugly. Just the effort wasn't there, and they just didn't generate enough offense. Simple as that.
And just to quickly kind of finish off that thought, as I just want to say, like, again, it's one of the advantages of being in the building is that you get to watch the entirety of the ice and not necessarily just what the camera's showing you. And I would imagine, I'm sure the camera may have showed it during the broadcast, but if they didn't, one person who was not pleased with the Jets' effort was head coach Rick Bowness.
Oh yeah,
and he was like gesturing, and his arms were up in the air, and he was not a happy camper, as they say. With his team, and you could see it. And it's interesting to watch him on the bench. And sometimes I watch him while the play is going on, and you can see him like he's still trying to get the guys going, and he's tapping the guys. He's trying to get everybody animated and in the fight. But at the same time, you can just watch him when guys are making plays. There was a play that Pierre-Luc Dubois made in the first period where he had possession, no pressure, and he did a no look back behind the back pass along the blue line to nobody, and the Sabres went on the attack, had possession for 30 seconds in the Jet zone. Could have been a goal. Like Connor Hellebuck had to make a nice save, but that was like, that summed up the game to me for the Jets, was that they just didn't, again, to use your word that you were using earlier, Drew, they weren't crisp.
Yeah, they were not crisp. That's exactly what they were not. And Buffalo deservingly, gets full marks for their victory. Let's get into the actual game recap, the actual goals of this one. It's brought to you by Betway, the title sponsor here of the Illegal Curve post-game show, and one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. Buffalo opens the scoring in the second period, but the Jets did have 2 power plays in the first period, and maybe those power plays were a sign, a harbinger of how the rest of this game was going to go, because those power plays were certainly nothing.
They had one combined shot, Drew, on those 2 that I counted. It was 1 shot.
That's exactly what it was, Ezzy. 1 shot on 2 power plays for a Winnipeg Jets team. That
notice that I didn't do a shot of fireball there, by the way. I could
appreciate that. That's good. I mean, you've already had enough, so maybe we should take the bottle away from you. So make sure
it's right here. No,
I know.
It's not going anywhere.
Maybe take it away.
You have to pry it out of my dead hands, Drew.
Naomi might kill you if you come home smelling like Fireball. So she's up for that challenge. Let me tell you.
Naomi's been in bed for 2 hours. She has no idea what's going on.
Terrible first period by the Jets, getting outshot 14-6. 2 power play opportunities, try to salvage the first period, 1 shot on goal in total. Just a bad start to the game. And then Buffalo opens the scoring, and you could feel this one building and building and building, because the ice wasn't just tilted. The ice, I don't think the Jets had an offensive zone in which to skate into, because that's how one-sided it was at this point in time. The Jets couldn't do anything. They couldn't get out of their own zone. Wave after wave after wave of Sabres coming at them, and Owen Power, who is going to be a dynamite hockey player, well on his way to being that, gets his 3rd of the year, assist to Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson at the 10:32 mark. And it's just, Connor Hellebuck has made a number of really nice saves, but you just felt that this goal was going to come, and it did come at this point in time, Ezzy.
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier, like Owen Power and Rasmus Dahlin, like what Kevin Sawyer mentioned it on the broadcast, like how often do you have 2 first overall picks on the back end, right? And Dahlin and Power were doing their thing. As you mentioned, Drew, all of the the offensive zone pressure, everything like that. The Jets were hemmed in, and this is a great individual effort by Owen Power. Carson Kuhlman comes out to play it, and obviously like the reach and the size, and then Josh Morrissey also comes out. I initially thought, I'm not sure if you guys or anybody watching, I thought that Jeff Skinner might have tipped it because he was in front of the net to the right of Hellebuck, but obviously he didn't tip it. It was just a nicely played shot blocker side by Owen Power. But yeah, on this goal, it was just, great individual effort by Power. Kuhlman just, didn't have it on the stick check. I think, Dave, you got to get in front of him there a little bit. And then, Morrissey came out and was just, too little too late. He'd already, chosen to shoot the puck there. So yeah, just a really impressive goal by Power. I think that's his third straight game that he's got a goal. And, speaking of Rasmus Dahlin, we were talking about this with Marty Biron, I don't know, 4 weeks ago. I don't think Rasmus Dahlin is a future Norris Trophy candidate. He might be a Norris Trophy candidate this year. Like, honestly, he's second in the league in scoring. I think everybody would agree right now. I think Morrissey, Carlson, Rasmus Dahlin, Dave, would probably be your top three Norris Trophy finalists. But yeah, that was just a beauty individual effort by Owen Power on that goal.
Yeah, exactly what it was. And you could feel the Jets were just desperately trying to hang on, and there was nothing for them to hang on to anymore. And as a result, Buffalo takes a 1-0 lead. Doesn't take them long. It takes them less than 4 minutes to make it 2-0. And boy, oh boy, is this one you're going to see one on the highlight reel for a long, long time. Tage Thompson, his 34th. 34 goals in 48 games for Tage Thompson. I mean, I know he's having an incredible year, but you really don't, that's sort of the problem. You don't get to really appreciate how good his year has been because Buffalo largely, they play in the East largely. You see him twice a year, and it's been twice in these last 2 weeks. His 34th assist to Alex Tuck and Jeff Skinner, and there's just an embarrassment of riches on the ice for the Sabres and an embarrassment of defensive play on the ice by the Winnipeg Jets. And you could hear Sweet Georgia Brown in the background, deservingly so, because the Sabres globe-trotted all over the Jets to make it 2-0 here, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it was a highlight reel goal. I mean, that's like you said, Drew. It was tic-tac-toe back of the net. Connor Hellebuck had no chance as he was trying to, prevent the second shot, the second person who received it, I should say, from scoring. And the Jets were standing around. I mean, the Jets were in the Sabres zone. And what did the Sabres do? Quick transition and caught the Jets standing and watching. And, they get burnt on defense, and everybody, like, you got to give the Sabres credit, right? Like, sometimes people want to, pillory the Jets for their mistakes, and mistakes were made. There's no question about it on this goal, Ezzy. But at the same time, you have to credit the very talented connection by a Sabres club that you could see. Like, they had it all second period.
Yeah.
It wasn't as if the Sabres came out of nowhere. The Sabres had been doing that all period long. The difference was that Connor Hellebuck was making the saves. He kept making all the stops. So the reality is, sometimes you just, thank you, but you sometimes have to take your hat off. I won't do that right now, but you do to respect what a team can do. And as he's outlined how good that line has been. And I'm sorry, like, that goal is world-class. And again, it was kind of one of those, all right, I'm not saying it's the end, but it didn't look very good for a Jets team, like I said, who didn't have any shots throughout that course of that second period.
And I wrote this down here again because I while I was watching the game, I stopped it. I actually had an opportunity, to actually watch the entire game tonight live because those 6 o'clock starts. I ain't watching the entire game. I'm, doing the daddy thing, as you know, Drew. But on this particular goal, okay, Morgan Barron, he gets the puck back to Brendan Dillon. Brendan Dillon, I don't know what happened there, but he gives the puck away. I forget who he gave it away to. It might have been, obviously, I didn't write it down well enough there, boys, but he gives the puck away. I believe it was Alex Tuck. I'm going to go with Alex Tuck. Alex Tuck passes the puck up to Jeff Skinner, and I'm watching the replay as I describe it. Hopefully I do a good job for everybody here, but what happened to me, Dave, it looked like, not to me, what it looked like to me is what I should say is that you had Neil Pionk goes and takes Jeff Skinner, right? So Neil Pionk goes to take Jeff Skinner. He does his job there. Then the two other players you had back is Brendan Dillon, who we talked about it. There was a turnover at the Sabres blue line. And then you had Carson Kuhlman coming back because it was the Lowry Barron Kuhlman line that was on the ice, right? So what happened on this one, because it was 3-on-3, what it looked like to me was Jeff Skinner goes to pass the puck to Alex Tuck. Dillon bats at it. And Carson Kuhlman is also watching what's happening here. And then what ends up happening is nobody picks up Tage Thompson. So Alex Tuck makes a nice pass to Tage Thompson, but Brendan Dillon and Carson Kuhlman were so focused on the pass going to Alex Tuck, right? So to me, it was a 3-on-3 situation that the Jets just didn't play well.
look, it was both a beautiful goal and horrendous defense. They're not mutually exclusive. They can both work hand in hand with each other. And nothing about this is the Jets are going to like when they do the video review, when they review this. I mean, there was tons of plays like this where the Jets just were not where they needed to be, not focused, didn't have, as people in the chat have been wanting me to say, didn't have the attention to detail necessary to succeed. And this was another one of those instances. This is an ugly, ugly play by the Winnipeg Jets all around. You wonder if there's going to be some changes to the lineup ahead of Saturday's game against Philadelphia. I would expect some, because the last couple games have been pretty lousy. But I
don't think you're gonna, like, Mason Appleton's still not ready to go.
No.
Like, if anything, you're gonna have maybe a guy come in on the fourth line, and then you're gonna maybe have Sandberg back in,
and I put Sandberg back in.
But the thing is, to me, those aren't major moves. Those are just minor moves.
Yes, I mean, look, there's not going to be an opportunity between now and Saturday for major moves, because there's not anybody who's ready to step in at that point in time. Mason Appleton, I don't expect to be back before the All-Star.
Rick Bowness said he's not coming back just before the break.
Right, because there's no reason to rush him back. But, I mean, I never really understood why Logan Stanley is in the lineup over Dylan Sandberg to begin with.
You'd know that if someone asked the question.
Well, I mean,
it's a fair question, but it's also, to me, like a moot point in the sense that, like, that had no impact on the game. Like Logan Stanley being in the lineup had no impact. Like, where the rest of the team, was disappointing.
Everybody on the Jets was bad tonight. I'm not singling out Logan Stanley, but I'm still curious, what the thinking is of getting him back in the game, and why he needs to be in the lineup. What has he done over the course of the year that makes
he hasn't played much, so that makes him a better option than
Dylan Sandberg?
Well, I'll tell you who's asking that question. Alex Carrier, who now is out 4 to 6 weeks after that fight in Nashville the other night.
The fight with Logan Stanley.
Yeah, he's out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, I missed that.
Why would anyone want to fight Logan Stanley?
I wouldn't, but at least in that sense, he's doing something. But I mean, in any event, 2-0 for the Jets after 40 minutes.
2-0 against the Jets.
Pardon me?
You said for the Jets.
Oh, sorry. 2-0 for the Sabres against the Jets. Yes. After 40 minutes. And you're wondering if the Jets are going to push before this one, before we get to the power play goal, because this is a bizarre situation. Okay. So Nate Schmidt goes for the hit on Dylan Cousins.
Yeah.
And he misses.
Or according to the collective, our friends who were sitting beside me, I had already left, Blake Wheeler.
yes. But mistakes.
I was like 88 and 26.
You don't need to. Mistakes get made, Dave. They get made. It's not a big deal.
We never make mistakes, Drew.
We do frequently. In fact, I think that's part of our. It's part of our code of conduct is make mistakes here on Illegal Curve.
I'm joking, anyways.
If you don't make mistakes, how are you going to learn?
Well, wow. So in this case, it's bizarre though, because Nate Schmidt.
The more you know, Dave.
He goes for the hit on Dylan Cousins. He misses. Then he sort of swings his arm around and he catches Cousins.
That was inadvertent, though.
It was a complete accident.
I know that, but. They didn't issue a penalty.
How was that roughing?
No, I know.
And then
what about that was roughing, Drew?
Well, but they called it roughing, but you can't.
Who called it though? Nobody called it.
They did after video review.
No. I know. I'm going with your point. I'm saying that nobody actually called it on the ice until after the fact.
Well, that's the part. Like, so I've been in contact with our friends at Scouting the Refs.
Oh, that's why they tweeted at us saying we'll check that out.
That's right, because I said to them, I tweeted at them. I said, look. They used a video review here to determine if it's a major or not, but they didn't call a penalty initially.
I honestly didn't even know that was allowed.
It's not. It's 100% not allowed in the rules. You're allowed to, if you call a penalty, you're allowed to review it
to see if it should be a major. Yeah,
but you can't use video review to determine if something should be a minor penalty.
Yeah,
that was at least make the initial call as a minor penalty.
Yeah. I'm sure they're all going to get together and figure out that they were actually going to call the penalty.
Yeah. Look, ultimately, did it matter in the game? No. I mean, yes, Buffalo ends up getting the power play goal that's the game-winning goal, but the Jets.
Aside from literally, it was the game-winning goal. I guess.
Right. I'm not making excuse. I'm not saying that this is the difference between the Jets winning or losing tonight, but. From the administration of the game standpoint, is there a rule book that you need to follow standpoint of this. I'm curious about it all. That's why I reached out to Scouting the Refs to say, hey, is this something that's allowed? Because based on my interpretation and my understanding, it's not allowed. So if we're just making up the rules as we go, and we're, then just tell us so, and I can live with that, NHL. But I just found it to be such a weird scenario that seemed to be not permitted under the NHL rule book, which was written by 46 different lawyers. And so maybe, if these rules exist, then they should be followed. Again, it's just one of those
You're
things.
not wrong at all.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that bothers me just by the letter of the law. Should have it been a penalty? Yeah, sure. You can't swing your hand wildly and open hand slap a guy. This isn't the stupid UFC slap league or whatever the hell that end of the world nonsense is.
But Nate Schmidt would tell you, he wasn't even looking at who was it? Who was it again?
Yeah, it was Dylan Cousins.
Cousins, right, from UConn. Yeah. No, I mean, you're right, Drew. Like, the point here is that's not something I saw Dom Zappia said that they initially called the major. I didn't know that they originally called it a major, but I didn't even know that even, despite the fact that they might have called it a major, that you could review that, right? We know what the NHL can review, like high sticks, goalie interference, right, offsides. So yeah, it was bizarre. On the goal itself, I mean, the Sabres, we talked about it. They're a good power play, good offensive team. Rasmus Dahlin quarterbacking the power play, puts it on net. Jeff Skinner tips it, and then it obviously gets it over to Victor Olofsson, who Dave has mentioned many times, such an underrated player. Speaking of Kyle Connor being underrated in Winnipeg, what about Victor Olofsson? 24 goals. He could hit 40 goals easily this year, right? So, and the game was essentially over. And then, at least Nate Schmidt gets a little bit of justice in that he breaks the shutout and he gets the Jets on board. But yeah, Drew, I agree with you. It was really bizarre and confusing what was going on there in terms of a challenge, because it's not something that we thought, as you mentioned, based on the rule book, that you could challenge.
Yeah, that's just what I wanted to know.
So it seemed
like the NHL to explain it.
And it would appear, based on what some of the folks in the chat, including Spencer, is up, it's that they again. I didn't see it. I didn't see anybody
a major though.
I didn't see it, but I'm assuming that is what is being put out there. I agree with you. I didn't see anybody.
That makes sense, Dave.
Yeah,
but they never made a penalty call. You can't. The only reason they reviewed it is because they happened to go to a TV timeout. It happened to be time for a TV timeout when that happened. So they go to the TV timeout, and then they're all of a sudden reviewing to see if something that they never actually called.
Look, I 100% agree with you. You can't retroactively decide, oh, in fact, that was a penalty. So the only way that it makes sense is based on what Dom and Spencer are saying, that someone did in fact call. And look, it's entirely possible. That's again the difference between being in the attendance at the games and watching on television, is that it's entirely possible that they missed it on television. So Drew, I mean, you need to be a little cautious in your anger, because
all of our colleagues that were in attendance, and you just happened to have left at that point in time. You were in attendance for the first 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I just want to make it clear. All of our colleagues said there was no call on the play.
Okay.
Like, there was no immediate call.
I didn't notice anything. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying, like, I agree. It actually makes no sense to go back in time and say, well, we're reviewing this for a major, but we didn't call a major on the ice. So
we didn't call a minor on the ice.
Well, but I'm just saying, if you're saying that's your justification to see,
there was no call on the ice, period.
Right. And if they hadn't gone to a TV timeout, they never would have even looked at it.
Well, Kenny's water bottle saying he was at the game and he didn't see a ref signal a penalty. So, again, I'm on board with the exact same thing, but it doesn't make any sense how you call a penalty after the fact. That would be, now let's hope Scouting the Refs get back to us before the show ends so we can get some insight. But yeah, I'm with you guys. It makes no sense to be able to retroactively do something that you didn't call clearly during the game.
Exactly right. Anyway, utterly bizarre. I'm curious, about the administration of the game that resulted in that. But 3-0 Buffalo at that point in time, and it's all over but the crying. The Jets make it close. Nate Schmidt gets the power play goal at the 15-14 mark, his 5th assist to Adam Lowry and Neil Pionk. And then 4 minutes and 3 seconds later, Pierre-Luc Dubois, his 22nd of the year, assist to Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler. That's with 43 seconds to go, and the Jets got another opportunity. The Mark Scheifele shot that Comrie was able to get enough of to steer it away, and that was it. The Jets, you only play the last 5 minutes of the third period. You're not likely to win, and the Jets did not win, losing 3-2 tonight at home to the Buffalo Sabres. A frustrated Winnipeg Jets team, and we'll read some of the comments that came out of the dressing room from both Nikolai Ehlers and head coach Rick Bowness when we come back. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show. This was the Betway game recap. And of course, the Pierre-Luc Dubois goal is our Seagram shot of the game. Ezzy, feel free to take another shot of that delicious fireball. We know that it tastes like heaven and burns like hell, much like the Winnipeg Jets performance tonight. When we come back, more of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. It's Thursday night. Delicious. We're live on YouTube and all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
There's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it.
From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Apologies, folks. I was tweeting back at our friends at Scouting the Refs, who provided a little bit of additional explanation on the play. Here's what they had to say. They tweeted at us at Illegal Curve. You can also do that if you want as well.
Why don't you post? You should post the comments so people can see it in the chat, Drew.
I guess I could copy and paste it. That's a fair point, Dave M. You're asking. Look at you.
I mean,
trying to make me do all this work, but I can do that. Let's see if this is going to work. See if I can see if I see the problems when we try and copy and paste into the chat. It doesn't really work very well necessarily, but I will try it again.
How about this? How about you read the tweet out loud?
Thank you. That's what I was doing. And then Manuk with his lousy ideas.
Let's go old school, Drew.
Yeah. Scouting the Refs. This appears to be the sequence of event. 1, initially no call. 2, officials discuss and call the major without a review, without reviewing anything. 3, once they call the major, they are now able to review it. 4, after the review, they reduced it to a minor penalty. Then Scouting the Refs says this is why refs need to announce the call on the ice before any review, along with the reason for the review. And again, from my
100%.
perspective. Yes, of course.
And that's why we have Scouting the Refs. We haven't had Josh on in a little while. I'm not sure if we've had him on since we've transitioned off of TSN 1290, but he knows his stuff. Mm-hmm. He really does, and he provides great clarity and information. And you're right. If the call isn't made on the ice, how does anybody know it was called?
Well,
if a tree falls in the forest, nobody's there. What are we talking about here?
I also don't believe. I know what the sequence appears to be, but I also don't believe for a second that they determined that it was a major, and then went to the video review.
It's like you said, Drew. It was like they were making this up as they went along.
No question.
Oh, no. We meant to call it a major,
right.
or we thought it was a major, so now we're going to review it. It's like, that's not how it works.
Exactly. We all forgot to call a penalty. We called it. We just didn't tell anybody that there was actually a penalty. We only went and discussed it 10 minutes after during the TV timeout that we determined it was a penalty. It's just there's no proper administration of the game here. You can say you blew the call, guys. You don't have to then go change the rule book to allow for it. And again, I want to reiterate, the Jets didn't lose the game because of this play. The Jets lost the game.
Technically, game-winning goal, as you pointed out.
Yes.
Well, at the time, it looked like it was going to be about 4 or 5-0 Sabres. Right. But the point is, the Jets really shouldn't have made this a 1-goal game. The Sabres could have easily had 5 or 6 if it wasn't for Hellebuck.
That's right. It's just there needs to be agreed upon rules for how the game can be administered. And when you have refs, who occasionally go rogue about it or make calls, minutes after, incidences occur, then it throws into question how the administration of the game is really being handled.
I'll go. I know we want to move along here and get into the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment and get into the Legal Curve merchandise comment and everything like that and get back into breaking down the game, right, boys? But I think almost, Drew, I don't watch baseball as much as some people, you guys and others, but it's almost like there's too much video replay now, and it's almost like the referees are relying on it too much to save them. It's easy for us to sit here and say this type of stuff. But in this particular case, it's almost like, okay, we don't really know what we should call, so let's review it, even though we never made a call. So we're not really reviewing or challenging anything that we called, right? So I think there's too much video review. There should be video review on, whether the puck crossed the line. Offside, I get it. You got to have that because human error it's so hard to sometimes, right, when it's an inch or half of an inch, right, boys? Mm-hmm. But to me, there needs to be less video review in my opinion in hockey.
I agree wholeheartedly, Izzy. That's why the refs have no confidence in making a call, because they're always constantly thinking that they're going to get second guessed, or that they can review it and that they can rule about it differently. In this case, they just didn't make a call and then they made one up after the fact. I don't care what they're telling me it is. If somebody tells me the sky is pink, I'm smart enough to look to make sure that it's blue and not pink, or whatever tortured analogy you want to use here. Let's go to some post-game comments from the Winnipeg Jets dressing room. I believe the first one I have here is courtesy of Nikolai Ehlers. This from our buddy Mike McIntyre, his Twitter feed. Nikolai Ehlers after tonight's game, quote, "We've got 25 guys in this room who are not okay with our performance tonight." That from the Winnipeg Jets forward, so that's good to hear, because they certainly shouldn't be satisfied with the performance tonight. Jets head coach Rick Bowness. The worst thing you can do is what we did tonight. Just keep giving them the puck, and that is certainly what. That is certainly what the Winnipeg Jets did. They handed the puck over and over and over again to the Buffalo Sabres until it bit them in the behind. Why were the Jets so lethargic? Because they certainly were lethargic in tonight's performance. More from Rick Bowness, quote, "I'm going to talk to a few of the guys tomorrow, get their feedback as to why. We had nothing going. I want them to explain to me what they are feeling." That is from Winnipeg Jets head coach Rick Bowness
Sounds like Coach Bones is going to put his sports psychologist hat on, maybe.
Well, whatever it needs to be, something needs to happen, because the Winnipeg Jets certainly have looked lethargic tonight.
The Sabres, by the way, that was 3-4 for them. So, I mean, right. You can't use that as an excuse. The Sabres have been playing a lot of hockey. I mean, last time I checked, NHL teams go on road trips.
Yeah. Here's another one. Rick Bowness on the Nate Schmidt penalty, what we've been talking about. Quote, "They called a 5-minute elbow and then they reviewed it so they could reduce it, but they had to call a major so that they could look at it and see exactly what happened," which is
it's exactly what we just talked about. They just made it up then.
It's entirely ass backwards.
You can't make a call after you didn't make a call.
It's pretty simple. Exactly.
Again, this is so bizarre.
Because the only thing they had, the reason they had an opportunity to make that call minutes later is because of the TV timeout. It's just not the way that a league has to run. You either blow the call or you make the call, and if you blow the call, so be it. But you can't then go retroactively and try and fix a call, because maybe we're just going to make it up as we go and try and create things that may or may not be correct, and then use tools that are at our disposal, but they're not really supposed to be at our disposal, except this time we're going to have them at our disposal. Makes sense. I like the consistency. Good thing people gamble on these games. That's the comments from the Winnipeg Jets dressing room after tonight's loss, a 3-2 defeat by the Buffalo Sabres of the Winnipeg Jets. Tough Duck hardest hitting comment, Ezzy. Who do you have for tonight?
Yeah, we're going to give it to Trish Jordan. Like the comment, I sent it to you there, Drew, in the chat from about 20 minutes ago. Worst performance of the year. I don't know if it's the worst performance of the year, because that game against the Blue Jackets in early December, that was the only game this year that I was in the stands watching. And Patty Laine, you remember, had 2 goals in that game. That might be the worst performance of the year by the Jets. But this is up there. I'll give you this, Trish. It's top 3 probably worst performances of the year. I think the game on the road a couple of weeks ago against Detroit was not very good either from the defensive point of view. But continue reading the comment here. Very disappointing. They didn't do one thing right. I was there and had to watch it. Embarrassing. I think in a game like this, even though, like we said earlier, you'd look at the score and you would say, okay, this game wasn't that bad. It was pretty close. Actually, no, it wasn't bad. It easily could have been, much worse than it was earlier before the Jets made the comeback. Could have been 4-0 or 5-0 if not for Hellbuck. So Trish, love the comment. Send me an email, ezra@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs and just send me your mailing address, and then Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you. And as I keep mentioning, that bitter cold is coming very soon if it isn't already here. And Tough Duck was a little bit behind, and they sent a bunch of Tough Duck toques out a few days ago. So our winners over the last week or so should be getting their Tough Duck toque soon.
Fantastic. Good. Congratulations to Trish Jordan, winner of tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Quick out of town scoreboard update. I don't know if the Arizona Coyotes are trying, the St. Louis Blues are trying to get their head coach fired. If they're trying to get Craig Berube fired, but losing 5-0 to Arizona is certainly a good way to go about doing it. The St. Louis Blues have been struggling all year long. We know that. They lose 5-0 in Arizona. St. Louis is going to be in Winnipeg on Tuesday, the final game to wrap it up before the All-Star break.
That'll about do it, Drew, for their playoff hopes. Their slim playoff hopes. I think losing to the Coyotes 5-0, that'll do it.
Yeah, I think if you lose to the Coyotes 5-0 this year, you just have to fold for the rest of the year. The franchise just has to go away. And speaking of franchises that need to go away, the Calgary Flames on home ice lose to the Chicago Blackhawks 5-1 on home ice. Wow. That is, I'm not sure which performance is more embarrassing. I would say the Flames performance is more embarrassing than the Blues performance. But that could be, that's a toss-up right there. I guess at least Arizona was, in their home arena, even though that arena is smaller than the River Heights Community Center. But, they lose, the Flames losing 5-1 at home to the Blackhawks. And was that not the second half of a back-to-back no, that was two. They played in Vancouver 2 nights ago. Sorry, it wasn't a back-to-back. But that is a pretty piss-poor performance by Daryl Sutter and the Calgary Flames as well.
That was only Chicago's 7th win of the year on the road. 7th win.
Yeah. So
all season. Sure we're 50 games into the season. They've only won 7 games on the road. So yes, I would say the Calgary one is more embarrassing.
Well, to round up the triumvirate of embarrassing, the Colorado Avalanche are 49 seconds away from losing 5-3 on home ice to the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks just scored into an empty net. I'm not saying it's impossible for Colorado to come back down by 2 goals with 44 seconds to go. This is Anaheim they're playing after all, but that's another embarrassing loss on home ice for the Avalanche.
They had won 6 in a row though, so that it's a little bit easier to stomach, Drew, because the Flames are not playing very well right now. So
right,
but you're right. I mean, speaking of Betway, right?
Yeah.
Like if you put some money down on the Ducks, you could have won some nice money.
You could have won. Imagine if you had a Ducks, Blackhawks, Blues or Ducks, Blackhawks, Coyotes parlay tonight. I think you probably would have you just win about $1 million by default there, no matter what your wager was. So our friends at Betway can tell us what that money line parlay would have paid, because those are 3 significant upsets in tonight's action on the out of town scoreboard. Dave, the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. We're getting close to the end of the month, folks, and you know what happens at the end of the month. Prior to Tuesday's game against St. Louis, we're going to draw a name, and whoever's name we draw is going to win 2 tickets to an NHL game of their choosing. So what you folks need to do before the end of the month is keep entering the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. The more activities you complete, the more entries you have, the more chances you have to win and get your name drawn and win fantastic, authentic Winnipeg Jets gear like who did tonight, Dave?
Put their name up.
There you go. I thought I was teeing you up there. It's Matthew Bergen. You want to take it from here, or you want me to keep going?
Way to go, Matt.
Well, I'm not. Matt Bergen is the winner. Well, I will give Matt Bergen a good shout out.
Tell us about Matthew Bergen. What's his horoscope sign?
I can tell you that Matthew Bergen did correctly guess the last contest unique code word. Now, he didn't win for that one. He actually won for Philly Dan, who I communicated with actually yesterday.
We give bonus points for guessing the word, right?
We don't. I wish I could. That'd be amazing. Although,
why can't we?
Well, because it's not possible as part of the contest thing.
You're the contest master, Dave. Make it happen.
I am, but I didn't create the software that controls the contest.
Programmer of the software, though,
yes. So I will say though that no. So congrats. I'm glad that
I can write a little code, Dave. I'll make it happen.
Okay, you got to do what you got to do. But congrats to him, because he was proud of himself for picking up the. Oh no, he got Dunkin' Donuts. That's what he got. He won. Sorry, his winning this one. The contest tonight was for Philly Dan. But he successfully guessed the Dunkin' Donuts because he pays attention to the show. So happy that Matthew Bergen is the winner of tonight's Illegal Curve Authentic Jets merch contest. Congratulations to him, because that's a good win. for him. And and like I said, I was saying, as he just gave Philly Dan a little shout out. I sent him a screenshot of to him saying that we used him in our contest, and he was rather pleased by that. So Philly Dan for the win, but this time it's actually Matthew Bergen for the win.
Congratulations to Matthew Bergen, winner of the merchandise contest. Your unique code word for tonight's game. You have from now until sometime on Saturday to enter this in before the Jets and the Flyers game. Tonight's code word was Eric Comrie is back.
And I picked that before I knew he was going to get the win.
There you go. It was
Love that one.
It was done ahead of the game. All one word. Eric Comrie is back is your unique code word for today's Illegal Curve merchandise contest. Enter that in to the contest page, and you get 10 bonus entries on top of all the other entries you can earn by doing all the different tasks we have listed there, such as commenting, following, retweeting, whatever else Dave M has put up there as possible for us to use. Be sure to go ahead and do that and enter in your unique code word for the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. It'll be a doubleheader of action on Saturday. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, 9 a.m. on Saturday. The three of us will be joined by Ken Wiebe and our buddy Anthony Sanfilippo, who's going to join us to talk about the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers in town on Saturday to face the Jets. They lost in overtime to the Minnesota Wild tonight. So the Flyers with that return engagement here on Saturday night.
We got to talk about All-Star Kevin Hayes, Drew.
Is Kevin Hayes on the All-Star team?
He sure is.
Let
me tell you, who's an All-Star? Every media guy who has to deal with John Tortorella. I said to Ezzy, we talked about this, but after the Jets-Flyers game, I watched John Tortorella's
30 seconds
post-game media availability, and honestly, just painful. And it was funny because, as said, wasn't he supposed to be reformed? This guy ain't reformed. Honestly,
that was the whole thing in Columbus, right? This is a lighter, because Vancouver was an obvious debacle. Everybody remembers the John Tortorella in Vancouver, or probably forgets the John Tortorella era in Vancouver, but that was the whole thing in Columbus, right? This is a new, softer John Tortorella, and we know how that ended with Pierre-Luc Dubois and everything like that, right? So, Torts. I mean, Torts is Torts, and the thing is, I love every minute of it because I love those big personalities in the game, and that's the reason why I don't have any problem with what Daryl Sutter did, because I thought he was just. I think people took it the wrong way, and Anyways, I like when when coaches don't just come out there and give you cliche answers. I like it when they have a little bit of, I just like how they have a little fire in their belly.
I mean, look, he fits it. He fits in with Philadelphia, right? Because the media there is known as being a little cantankerous, and usually with each other. But the reality is that his response was, "Ask me a question. You already know the answer to that question. Ask me a question. What about this guy? He's fine. Ask me a question you don't know the answer to." It was like every guy challenge. I was like, okay, this guy's a fun guy.
Well, he'll be in town on Saturday night, so we'll see.
I'm sure he's already got a night, 10 minutes reserved with Ezzy to renew.
I wasn't planning on going, but there's part of me that just wants to go down there and just, I almost just want to go down there and give him a hug after the game.
And Ezzy was never allowed in the building.
It's going to be
again.
okay. Everything's going to be okay, Torts.
And that is the day that Ezzy got absolutely pummeled by an entire hockey team. I think that ends it for tonight. We want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. They make the post-game show. They make the Saturday show. They make the website a possibility. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Kevin Farley has been in town all week. All the weekend shows are sold out. Tonight was sold out. Yesterday was sold out. Next week, coming up at Rumors, Kyle Bottom is going to be in town. Linden Market Dental Center, that's our good friend, Dr. Les Rikus. Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg. And I noticed that our good friend Frosty Winnipeg has added pitchforks and torches to the list of sponsors. We appreciate that, the long-term support.
Wasn't that the name of a New Jersey Devils SB Nation blog?
Pitchforks and torches?
Something like that. Pitchforks and something. I'd have to look it up. But
yeah, you're right, Ez. I think it was. Yeah. It was, I can't remember. After Nightmare on Helm Street, they all kind of fell by the wayside.
Well, there you go.
That was the best of the bunch.
Yeah, it's
I just Googled it. It's called Pucks and Pitchforks.
Pucks
there
and
you
Pitchforks.
Go.
As an aside,
shout out to those guys.
really, we didn't mention it when it happened last week, but we were remiss in not doing so. We will extend our sympathies to all the folks at Vox Media and the SB Nation sites that all got shut down with the layoffs recently. And we know what's happening in the media business, and we see
it's happened to us, right?
So yeah, it's happened to us. We see what
and a lot of our colleagues too,
what the vultures and the vampires at the head office of Post Media are doing. Support local where you can, folks, and do what you can if you can to support some of our local institutions, especially print and everything else, because they need our help, and it's because the corporations that run them certainly don't have a caring bone in their body. That's it for today. I'm off my soapbox. I'm going to go and find someone else to berate with my words in the meantime. Jets lose 3-2. Big thanks to all of you for joining us here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave us feedback here, there, and everywhere, and tell your friends that the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, and again on Saturday mornings, is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. For Dave Minuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks for watching. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.